So 2 in 1 day, you're quite lucky this day. So why are we doing a 2 for 1? Well, purely for the fact that yesterday there were, last count, I'd say there were about 8 at least from what we would call traditional news sources. I don't know how many there were from any other, but those were the only ones I saw. And when something like this happens, it's a very good chance it might happen. So what could be happening, you ask? Well, from the Observer, a new centrist party gets 50 million backing to break mould of UK politics. Plans have been secretly made for a new political party drawing from left and right. So, a new political party, you might think. That could be interesting, because currently, well, we have a 3-party system. It might not seem like it because, as I've said for quite some time, the Liberal Democrats are the ghost party. They are terrible at actually getting their message out. But I've done that video before, and you know, it's another video that we could do again because there is so much we could do on it. So anyway, it gets into the article. So, a new political party with access up to 50 million in funding has been secretly under development for more than a year by a network of entrepreneurs, philanthropists and donors keen to break the Westminster mould, the Observer can reveal. The movement, spearheaded by former Labour benefactor, is understood to have been drawing upon a group frustrated by the tribal nature of politics and the polarisation caused by Brexit, and the standard of political leadership on all sides. It appears to have a centrist policy platform that borrows ideas from both the left and the right, like the Liberal Democrats, ironically. But hey, it could actually generally work. I'd be interested to see what the policies they are going to produce. So, senior figures from the world of business and charity are understood to be involved, as well as former supporters of the main parties, including a number of former Tory donors. Sources say the project, led by the multimillionaire philanthropist and founder of Love Film, Simon Franks, has had a full-time staff members for as long as a year. Initial discussions are said to have begun at the end of 2016. Frank has set up a company, Project One Movement for the UK, which is likely to be the vehicle for the enterprise. Some of those involved have apparently been keen for the project to concentrate on funding community activism rather than becoming a formal political party. The final decision has not yet been taken, but there is said to be a consensus that the movement will run candidates at the next election due in 2022, should the current parties be deemed to be failing. Some form of political movement could be launched later this year. There has been persistent speculation about the potential of a new party, as Jeremy Corbyn's leadership has taken the Labour to the left, while the Tory hard Brexit has alienated those on the party's moderate wing. The Liberal Democrats have been unable to take advantage of any of this polarisation, and I agree, because they're terrible at getting their message out. While figures from across the political spectrum have said to be involved in the project, much of its policy platform appears to be aimed mainly at the liberal centre-left audience. Political policy proposals including asking the rich to pay a fairer share of tax, better funding for the NHS, improved social mobility. It also backs the central-right ideas on wealth creation and entrepreneurship. It is also keen to explore tighter immigration controls. A source said some Brexit supporters are involved. Franks could not be reached for comment, but the Observer understands that up to 50 million is available and that the group has consulted political experts from around the world in an attempt to create a credible plan to challenge the existing parties. It is believed the new movement is not trying to convince MPs to defect as part of its launch. However, there are plans to reach out to MPs deemed to meet its non-partisan approach. The project appears to be the most significant attempt to challenge the main parties yet to emerge. However, Britain's electoral system and reluctance of existing politicians to make the jump makes it extremely difficult to make a success of a new party. The formation of a new party could represent a challenge to both the Liberal Democrats, who remain in the doldrums, and Labour, which is divided over Corbyn's leadership and have been plagued by accusations of anti-Semitism by some members. Franks, who co-founded Redbus Film Distribution, has since set up a charitable foundation, is the de facto leader of the new movement. What is said to unite those is a frustration with the current party politics and the short-termism of professional politicians. The group is said to have drawn up policy documents as part of its attempt to break the traditional mould of politics, and it would see potential candidates asked to sign strict term limits to stop the current practice that sees MPs in safe seats remain in post for decades. Other than Franks, the identities of those involved remain secret, and no launch date has been scheduled. It remains unclear as to how they intend to navigate Britain's first past the post electoral system. They know they might fail, and that they will need some luck, said one source. But they care about this country, and they want to challenge the way things are currently done by the current crop of professional politicians. They want to break the mould of Westminster politics. Comparisons have been inevitably drawn to Emmanuel Macron's centrist En Marche movement, which delivered him the French presidency and earned a majority in the French's National Assembly last year. Others have been approached by the group remain deeply sceptical about its chances of a success, pointing out its past attempts to defeat the mainstream political parties have ended in failure. In the 1980s, 4 senior figures broke away to lead the new Social Democratic Party. It formed a Liberal alliance that secured 7.8 million votes at the 1983 election, but ended up with just 23 seats. They have the resources, but I'm not sure they have a viable plan, said one person familiar with the project. So that is a potential new centrist party. And, considering the video that's just gone out this afternoon, all about the liberalist society, I think potentially, well, let's look at what it could potentially do. Potentially what this party could do is, first of all, it could sink the Lib Dems. The other thing is that it could potentially draw voters away from Labour and the Conservatives. Now, I think the Conservatives, will be most drawn away from, because the Conservatives have a lot of moderate members that are not happy with the current party at the time being. And that also goes for Labour as well. But given the fact of how slim a majority they managed to win at the last election, can you really say that they can afford to lose any more votes, especially to a new, potentially fourth party? It's entirely possible, and this is the kind of thing that could either tip the balance in Labour's favour, or, again, it could maybe work against them. Maybe we now have yet another hung parliament where this new centrist party is who both parties are trying to court to essentially try and, win control of the House. It could be, who knows what could potentially happen at an election with a party like this. We generally don't know. Now, the big thing is can they get their message out to the people? This is something that the Liberal Democrats have struggled, well, since the end of their coalition period, even before, up to the point where they went in coalition, I thought their message spreading was quite good. After that, they entered the coalition, their messaging system, their marketing system, and ability to go out and reach the people, say this is why you should vote for us. This is why, you should, be voting for your Liberal Democrat candidate, is all but non-existent. This is why I keep on describing them as the ghost party. They are there, but occasionally there's this rattling of chains that you occasionally hear, and you're like, oh, there's this other party I'd completely forgotten about. So, yes, a potential new centrist party for the UK. Will it succeed? Will it not succeed? Will it have limited successes? Who knows at this moment in time? And will it launch this year? I highly suspect it will. But given the fact that there will be all these articles released again in the same day, and Labour poo-pooing the idea, yes, things could get very interesting in politics in the coming months, depending how serious this actually becomes.